Hi, welcome to Astrology for GAN Traders. My name is Olga Morales. Now, I'm going to be looking at the forthcoming solar eclipse. It's a solar partial eclipse on the 11th of August. For Australia, Melbourne, it will be at 7:57 p.m. So obviously we won't be able to see it. But the amazing thing about this eclipse, when it's occurring, is that except for Jupiter and Venus, all the other planets are retrograde. Now, how often does this happen to have all these planets? We've got Saturn, Pluto, Mars, Neptune, Chiron, Uranus, the node stationary, and Mercury all retrograde. Now, that's peak retrograde. We need to know about these things. So, I'm going to look back and show you what we can do. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load some Dow data. So we click on the chart. It says copy data to clipboard. So click onto that. I'll open my timing solution. And you can easily import data from your clipboard. So you press File, Open Price History File. And you just click on clipboard and it'll paste it in for you, which is amazing. We say load, exchange location, we put New York and we say OK. And there you go. So we'll load the data. Might take a little bit of time. It's going back to the 1900. And there's so many things you can do with timing solution. I know I promise people I will do a tutorial, but I probably might have to do about 12 of them because there's so many things you can do. But in terms of astroanalysts and plotting things and getting the statistics for past events, there's nothing that compares. So when we see forthcoming phenomena, it's really an easy way to look back also and just to plot things visually. For an astro trader, it's just such an advantage. So let's have a look. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to zoom in a bit, and we're going to go to the ULE, which allows you to do there's so many options you can do here, but we pick the direct and retro. Okay, but we're going to pick all the planets except the sun and the moon because they don't move retro, and I'll put in the north node. And so we've picked the planets and we want to say retrograde. Okay, and then you add that, comes into this, and I want to make a ULE out of it. I'll calculate it anyway, but I'll yeah. So this is going to plot, and what's going to happen is, because we know there's so many of them at the moment retrograde, we're going to get like a peak, which is what we want to see. Okay, so let's have a look. Look at this. Where are we at the moment? Let's just move across. Move across, move across. We're here. 2018. We are in here. Now the peak, if I click on that, let's have a look what we get. What date is that? We go up to this panel here, the transits, so we'll get a chart. So let's have a look. You can see them all retrograde, and the date is the 15th of August, just after the eclipse. We can see that Mars, Pluto, Neptune, so they've got R, and they've got R, that means retrograde. You can see them all there. Okay, but Venus isn't and Jupiter isn't. So this is a peak of the retrograde time. And the other thing we can do visually, we can actually plot the planets onto your chart. If you go to Tools, we've got a horizontal ephemeris. We've got all the planets that you want. We just want the transiting planets. We'll put it at the fourth harmonic. You can use whatever harmonic you want. And this will plot the planetary transiting positions on your chart, which is a graphic ephemeris, okay? So visually you can actually see the planetary lines all going retrograde, and it's just an amazing phenomena to watch, okay? So let's have a look when it plots all these. Might take a little bit of time. There's a lot of data. This is one of the most, for me, essential tools for any astrologer. You need to know where the planets are. So Gan had his path of planets, so he was plotting them graphically rather than looking up in an ephemeris where the planets are. You plot them graphically, so you've got a visual representation of the planets. Okay, so here we go. You can see the lines. So this is Mars, for example, and then it's going direct, but then all of a sudden it stations and goes retrograde. Okay, and they've all got this. So Mercury recently has gone retrograde. Okay, so you can see even the outer planets. We've got Neptune here. Now, when they station is when basically they flatline. And if you watch price at those times, usually it also flatlines. So we get a lot of sideward movements and repetition of patterns because that's what the planets are doing. So this is amazing. Now, if we go back, you can look back at past times when we had, you can see how high this is at the moment. So it's like, in terms of peaks, previous peaks, it's quite high in comparison, but we're going to get more into the future. Okay, so if I just move across a bit, you can see the peaks. So this is, you can do a lot of research here and have a look in the past what's happened when we've had these peaks in price and trends. I think this looks like, no, that looks like quite a big peak in 96. This one in 86 looks pretty big too. It's really high. And this one, look, in 84. So this is part of what astroanalysis is all about, and this is what, I spend hours looking at this. Just as Gan tells you, you've got to look back. Now, in Gan's private ephemeris, he's always, every time there's a retrograde planet and then it goes direct, he's actually marked that in his ephemeris. It's an essential part of understanding planetary cycles. So don't forget to do that. Okay, so it's important, plus it's very close to an eclipse, so you expect some sort of reaction because of basically you're building a case. When there's lots of things happening at the same time, everyone, as above so below, is affected by those planetary clustering of events happening at all at the same time. I'm trying to zoom in. Sometimes because there's so much data it just sort of collapses. But anyway, oh, there we go. It's sort of coming together. Let's see if I can move it across. Where are we? I just want to get now. So I just want to move into here. And there we go. So we can see all these retrograde planetary lines. So, and also, let's have a look at this. You can see them. Oh, that was in the past. Okay, that's fine. So hopefully you've enjoyed that short presentation. You can see the chart here for the solar eclipse. You can see all these retrograde planets. Now, if we want to, we can plot that on solar maps. Got so many things we can do with astrology just to see where the energy is, like I did in the previous video. So you can see that the actual solar eclipse will be visible actually over Egypt in Cairo and up through Scandinavia and parts of Eastern Europe, okay, and through Africa. So they will be able to see it. Under our feet, again, we won't be able to see it in this or through the Pacific, okay, the Pacific Ocean. Rise, actually on the declining, on the descendant, it's going through Asia. Okay, and rising, it will be going through, actually it's going to be going through Washington, which is interesting, and also through South America. So they're things you need to watch. I'm not going to go into too much, but I have done in previous things. But I know this eclipse is impacting on Donald Trump's chart, because I'll quickly show you, even though we have got some 2 times, if we use the earlier one, it gives him an ascendant of almost 18 Leo, which is this eclipse, okay? But when you put it on the dial, you get more information. So what this is the inner dial is Donald Trump's natal chart. The outer dial is the actual transits for the eclipse. Now, sorry, I've put it for Melbourne, but we won't look at the ascendant and midheaven of the eclipse, okay? So we can see the eclipse here. It's at 18 of the fixed signs, but what's interesting about this eclipse is that Saturn, because it's and Venus, they actually across the dial. It means that they're on the 8th harmonic from the eclipse. Okay, so this gives it a restrictive energy. Okay, but for Donald Trump, at the same time, it is as it's giving him. It comes to his Uranus Jupiter midpoint. They're trine in his chart, which basically is called, Eberton called this thank the Lord combination. This is what makes him very lucky, okay? But this eclipse obviously highlights him, which is a good thing for him, but Saturn is on the other side. So it can cause restriction, even though he thinks he has the blessings of the gods. There's Saturn saying, hold on a minute, maybe not. So this is going to be interesting to watch at this time. I know he's in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, and I think that Saturn is going to cause us, actually, here's the reality factor, that this illusion, because Neptune's also here. Neptune is the illusion and the deception. He's had Pluto on his Jupiter, which, yeah, is very powerful. But he's also got Neptune on this side. And it comes to his midheaven Pluto. This is a power that he seeks, and also the Mars in an assertive way. So the Saturn there is the reality factor. We're going to see something interesting happening there. So have a look at your own chart, plot it, have a look where the solar eclipse, what midpoints it comes at. You just got to move this arrow around. The most amazing thing you can do. So, you know, Donald Trump, if we just look at his chart using this time, you can just go around and find out his natal aspects. Okay, this is what we do. He's very lucky because he has that Jupiter Uranus trine in his chart. And if you recall, I did do his chart when he was going for the election, and this was highlighted. He was getting a double whammy, and I said that he had the Midas touch at that time because of it. But at the moment, this eclipse is going to be, so that might flatten that golden touch, or that Midas touch. So anyway, thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you.